Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors side, just reacting to the Toronto Raptors 104-98 victory over the Chicago Bulls, and this was a massive win for the Toronto Raptors. Currently, in the Eastern Conference, we're competing with the Bulls, with the Wizards, with the Hawks, right? Now we're trying to inch closer to the Miami Heat, the Nets, the Knicks, right? There's a huge sort of clump in the middle of the Eastern Conference, and we want to avoid, especially the bottom half of that play-in tournament, and getting a win against the Chicago Bulls, especially where we have a very tough schedule following not just this game, but our two games following against the Washington Wizards, right? The schedule gets a lot tougher at this point. This was essentially a must win for the Toronto Raptors. And once again, the game was the Raptors are a little bit cold, right? They were not knocking down their shots, especially for the first three quarters, but Scottie Barnes absolutely rejuvenated this team in the fourth quarter and was electrifying down at the end of this game. It was shaping up to be one of the worst performances for Scottie Barnes this season, and man, that was, watching this game, watching the close of this fourth quarter was, why we all love Scottie Barnes, right? Why this man is a multi Scottie Barnes award winner. And you look at the box score, right? People that might have not have tuned into the game might look at it and say, Ben, what are you hyping up Scottie Barnes for? 11 points? You know, only 4 assists? What's going on here? 4 of 12 shooting? But man, this guy completely just changed the Raptors' energy down the stretch. He got a nice little and one DeMar DeRozan. He's looking up into the crowd. You know, the hype was so high that Billy Donovan had to challenge it. You know, Scottie Barnes still riding that momentum. I don't know if all the blocks, but on the box score tonight, right, had 4 blocks in this game. It felt like they all came in the stretch, of a 2-minute stretch in the fourth where the Raptors completely turned around this game because, the Raptors have had, just like this season, up and down moments in this games, every single game they basically play, and it was looking a little bit sketchy there. DeMar had a couple of moments, right? The Bulls, Nikola Vucevic, the bigs, even though we had Jakob Poeltl come out and play pretty solid in his only 26 minutes in this game. We'll talk about the rotations and everything we had going in this game. But, the Raptors, while they did get bullied a little bit by the bigs, it was the small ball unit that closed this game. Our usual starting unit before the acquisition of Jakob Poeltl that really sealed the deal on this one. And a part of it, I want to get this out of the way quick. I want to hear all the takes. I want to hear the chat, everyone going out. Because you look at the box score, right? You look at even the game. Fred VanVleet, 1 of 11. 1 of 9 from the three-point line. In a game where the Raptors just couldn't hit a shot, right? They couldn't knock down a three-point shot. It really would have been nice for Fred VanVleet to knock down some threes. But call me a Fred VanVleet stan. Call me whatever you want in the comment section after this video. The team looks a lot better with Fred VanVleet out there on the court. The shots that we're getting with Fred VanVleet out there on the court, specifically to guys like OG Anunoby, to Gary Trent Jr., heck, even Pascal Siakam, Jakob Poeltl, right? The limited chemistry that I guess they have chemistry from their previous tenure, on the bench mob and stuff with the Raptors, but the limited chemistry they have this season. Fred VanVleet, in this game, even though he only had 3 points, right? And maybe there'd be more criticism thrown towards his way if this was a loss. But the 9 assists, the shots he was getting for other people, our offense looked bad without Fred VanVleet in the lineup. And it looked more, again, we're not a top 5 offense by any means with Fred VanVleet back into the lineup. We still have those shooting issues. But it doesn't look nearly as janky, right? There's actual open shots being put up by guys like Gary, by guys like OG, and part of it's OG, especially tonight, coming back from his injury, took a couple games, and all the drama with his name being spoken out on our channel and pretty well everyone that's covering the Raptors, right? OG probably thinking he's going to get dealt. I see why he may have come out flat following the All-Star break, following the deadline, following his injury and stuff. This is by far the best game OG's played since recovering from his wrist injury, and Gary Trent Jr. after a dud, and there was a lot of talk about who would start when the Toronto Raptors are back healthy. Well, it turns out the star boy, Gary Trent Jr., he was the guy that ended up getting moved to the bench, and honestly, Gary Trent Jr. thrived coming off that bench, coming off that pine, knocking down the three-point shots. OG as well, having a solid offensive end, right? It's pretty solid. I mean, like, you look at the stats for two of those guys. OG, 17 points, right? 8 rebounds, two assists, but played phenomenal defense on DeMar DeRozan, and that was the real shocking thing, especially in the Cleveland Cavaliers game, because Donovan Mitchell, probably at this point in his career, is a better player than DeMar DeRozan, especially with the three-point shot and stuff. But, two all-star level guards, and on Sunday, or whatever that game was against the Cleveland Cavaliers, OG was getting cooked. OG was getting shook. He was looking like we had Andrea Bargnani out there guarding on the wing, right? I might be over-exaggerating there, but he was getting cooked by Donovan Mitchell out there on Sunday, and then tonight, took it personal. DeMar DeRozan said, you're not getting any easy looks when you switch on to him. When you switch on to Zach LaVine, again, Zach LaVine didn't have a big night either, 17 points, but 6 of 12 and stuff. But OG did a really good job from the eye test, staying in front, staying glued to his man, and playing the OG-esque defense we're accustomed to as Toronto Raptors fans. But also, I'll get this rocking. There's like a bunch of moments that this could go to throughout the game, but the spicy play of the day, the moment of the night, going to OG, his former mentor or his former teammate, his former vet, DeMar DeRozan was down there in the paint, right, doing, trying to guard OG, and OG came down with a thunderous, slam on top. It looked vicious. It looked personal. It looked like DeMar DeRozan, stole OG Anunoby's high school girlfriend, and then DeMar and OG wanted revenge. It was that type of personal type of dunk, right up in his airspace, right in his grill, right? OG threw down on top of DeMar DeRozan, right? It's nice to see OG looking confident on the offensive end, playing his elite defense, and playing like the guy we've seen throughout the course of this season. So that was pleasure to see. And again, Gary Trent Jr., I didn't really run through his stats, but in this game, coming off the bench, 19 points, hit 5 threes, which is, had also 3 steals, 5 rebounds, was engaged on both ends of the court, right? I love seeing it. I absolutely love seeing Gary Trent Jr. knocking down those 3-point shots, especially after coming off a cold night. Nice to see him not enter a long slump, right? Comes back, especially, you can see the mental stuff with a 3-point shooter being in the starting unit, moved to the bench in a contract season, this, that, and whatever. But he got his minutes tonight, and he was able to be effective with it. But we have a super chat coming in from Turtle T, re-upping with the channel membership. Appreciate you, Turtle T. But Ben, 1-on-1 tonight. Ben on one tonight, either a fat lie. Oh my goodness, Turtle T, you wiling out here, but I do appreciate the super chat and the channel membership. But we are hyped off some Toronto Raptors victories. We are hyped off of some Toronto Raptors W's, because this is the team that we wanted to see this entire year. Playing engaged on defense, playing fast. Even if the 3-point shots aren't going down, right, we're competent, we're getting the right looks, and having Scottie Barnes play a night like this, a game like this. How are we not going to be hyped? How am I not going to come on this live and be hyped up chatting with you folks? But it was a solid performance there, and I do want to give a lot of credit. And we talked about this some recent pods, the interesting minutes distribution for this game. And I thought this was wild. This was a pretty solidly coached game for Nick Nurse, right? With exception of Jeff Dowden. I want him getting some run. But looking at this game, Jakob Poeltl, I thought really played well throughout this game. Especially was a nice matchup for Andre Drummond when he switched on to his minutes. Started off against Nikola Vucevic, hit a couple jump shots and stuff, but Andre Drummond, Jakob Poeltl did a solid job on Andre, cleaning up the paint and all that sort of stuff. 6-9 from the field, 14 points, didn't have a lot of rebounds, but I thought played a fairly solid game. Had a couple of nice dimes out there in the high post, doing his thing out there. So it's nice to see. It's nice look to see with Jakob Poeltl, and we'll talk about Will Barton as well, because that's something I want to talk about with the minutes distribution. But again, people are talking about it in the chat as well. Chatty Thaddeus Young tonight. Thaddy Daddy, whatever. What is it? Goran Dragic got waived today, so it's only right that Thaddeus Young, right, gets some minutes there. But Bueno Kitty's coming in with the super chat saying Will Barton rejuvenated the Raptors. Rip Bo Cruz. I just read that and I didn't realize it was a super chat. My bad, Bueno Kitty. Getting the super chat animation. Appreciate you. Go tier channel member. But, this is, I'm freezing a little bit. Thaddeus Young. we'll talk about Will Barton. We'll get into Will Barton in this because I'm hyped. I made a whole video on that earlier this evening. But Thaddeus Young, I thought he knocked down a corner three, which is a huge plus when Thaddeus Young's out there on the court because he's not known as a shooter. A couple nice buckets in the paint, played solid defense, had the energy against his former team. Right, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's always just makes those high IQ plays. And the thing about Thaddeus Young is he plays better when he's playing around guys, not better teammates, but when his teammates are playing good. Thaddeus Young can be more of a ceiling raiser, right? He's not much of a floor raiser, so when the team's bad, Thaddeus Young isn't going to come in and help you guys out. But, you know, if he can come in, get 10, 15 minutes a night, just be a role player, give Siakam a breather, right? So he's not playing 40 minutes a game. He can come in, make some nice dimes, come in, get, Scottie Barnes, maybe a little bit of run, all that stuff. So it was a huge, just nice performance for Thaddeus Young coming off. Not playing a lot of minutes, playing inconsistent minutes as of late, so I'm happy that he's playing well in these games right now. But Chris Boucher knocked down a couple threes in this one. 3 threes. 3 threes for Chris Boucher, and that's a big plus off the bench. And I talked about Gary, talked about the starters. You know, Pascal Siakam, we kind of overlook him every now and then, but 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Average game for Pascal, and you know Pascal's really taking his game to the next level when that's an average game for our star players. So shout out to Pascal, shout out to this entire team. I'm absolutely juiced about this, but one thing that I was a little bit confused by, I'm shocked that Will Barton ended up getting a jersey. Like they made up those prime jerseys. We signed him about 3 hours before the game, it felt like. This man's flown to Toronto. Maybe it was already in the works and stuff like that, but it's wild to see Will Barton get out there, get some minutes right away. And in this one, obviously 4 minutes of action, so we didn't get a decent sample size of what he could actually do. But from the short test, the short stint of action we did see from Will Barton, right, I thought he played pretty solid. Looks wasn't forcing his game. The one question about acquiring Will Barton would be, hey, would he be a ball stopper? Because we need those shot creators. We need those three-point shooters, but we don't want someone that's just going to run more and more ISO actions and take bad shots. But in his 4 minutes, was making some nice passes. You know, took a good solid shot. He had a couple just moments where his handle looked really tight. So I'm very encouraged to see what Will Barton could do. I'm assuming, right, Will Barton only played the 4 minutes because was signed 3 hours ago or however many hours ago and needs to get accustomed to the defensive schemes and the systems. When he's thrown out there, he's essentially playing full court defense. And, you know, I'm sure Nick Nurse will say something. I'll cover it in a video tomorrow why he only played 4 minutes. But if we picked him up, right, especially with what he can provide out there on the court, right, I'm hoping he gets more than 4 minutes. And the one other disappointment, the one other mini golden kazoo I'm throwing out to Nick Nurse in this video, because I am happy with the rotations, right? I'm happy with the rotations in terms of not playing, especially Fred VanVleet, who's been dealing with injuries this season, right? 35 minutes for Fred, 26 for Pirtle, 35 for Scottie Barnes, 34 for OG, 34 for Pascal Siakam. Nice even distribution for the squad, right? 35 minutes is right where you want the squad to be at. I still would like to see Jeff Dowtin, especially with how well he's played in that limited run he received with the squad. I'd like to see Jeff Dowtin still be in this rotation. Call me crazy, call me whatever, but I'm especially with the acquisition of Will Barton, right? Adding that shooting in Doughton's minutes, added to it, Will Barton, Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench. We're really in a position where we can make a push in this Eastern Conference. Now, we have 2 big games against the Washington Wizards this week, which Will Barton hopefully will be, as Blue Week is saying, he didn't look lost out there. So there's I don't think he's going to be replacing Gary Trent Jr. or Weeze will be either, but I want to see, and Bueno Kitty's bringing up the right questions out here with the super chat coming in saying who gets the minutes then, Barton or Dowtin Jr. And Bueno Kitty, I'm saying there's minutes to be had. There's minutes going around with this team, right? The Fred VanVleet, 35 a night. I think that's a nice sweet spot for Fred VanVleet. Tight in this one, Thaddeus Young got some extra run in this game. Right, Precious Achiuwa got 12. I guess Precious minutes would increase when he's having a better game rather than Thaddeus Young, but we'll see how that ends up playing out. I guess it's tough. Now that Gary Trent Jr. is coming off the bench, but I don't know. I'm a Dowtin guy. If there ever is an injury, Dowtin better be the next man up in terms of being in that lineup. Yeah, it's tough. I'm loving this team. I'm liking that we actually have a little bit of depth now with Scottie Barnes, or with the Scottie Barnes acquisition, the Will Barton acquisition. Right, there's decisions to be made. We'll see how it all plays out. But and Six Canada definitely didn't watch the game because Scottie Barnes was absolutely remarkable out there at the fourth quarter. It was a sight to behold. The game, the way that he changed. Scottie Barnes has that sort of energy about him where everything he does doesn't have the impact in the box score. Was pretty brutal for the first 3 quarters of this game, but the fourth quarter, the 4 blocks, the passes, the dimes he was making to Pascal in the fast break, the way he speeds up the game is just game-changing for the Toronto Raptors. So that is huge plus. And Bueno saying I'd still like to see Doughton with 12 to 15 minutes, but if Barton can light up the threes, I don't know. Yeah, that's correct. I'm definitely not at least we need to see a sample size of Will Barton with our current team, but I want Will Barton to get the minutes, get more minutes than 4 minutes a night first before Jeff Doughton, even though I've been a Jeff Doughton stan on this entire season. But that was before we had 2 elite guards coming off the bench in Gary Trent Jr. and Will Barton. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this Toronto Raptors team. Again, I was sort of mentioning it. We got to beat the Wizards. We need 2 wins against the Washington Wizards these upcoming games. Maybe Will Barton, going up against his former team, have some big nights, but then we get it. Then it gets tough. Then it gets tough for the Raptors. We go on that road trip. I believe it's on the road. We're playing a bunch of Western Conference teams. I'm not sure if those games are on the road. The way they were talking on the broadcast, I looked at the schedule the other day, but we have the Lakers. I guess who LeBron's injured now, they're a little bit of an easier opponent. The Clippers. We play the Timberwolves, I believe. We got some tough matchups out west. So, right. We get through these 2 games, and then the real test. We had a big test this weekend against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but it was the second night of a back-to-back. No one could knock down shots. Fred VanVleet was in the lineup. We didn't have Will Barton on this team, so throw that one out the window. The 6th game, we need to just come down to business, right? Show up to work against the Washington Wizards. Don't underestimate that team, right? Come out the same way we did in this 4th quarter against the Chicago Bulls, and get a couple W's against the Washington Wizards, and then really make a push. Really make your statement. As Jack Armstrong says on pretty well every game broadcast, don't peak too early, right? The Raptors this is the time to start your ascension, right? To start putting some fear in the hearts of those top teams in the Eastern Conference, as knowing that they don't want to face this Toronto Raptors team in the playoffs. And if we can avoid the Boston Celtics, if we can avoid the Milwaukee Bucks in that first round, and avoid the play-in, especially the bottom seed of those play-in tournaments, because winning 2 games is much harder in a 1-game elimination series, right, than a single game to get a W. So it's what's happening. And Will Barton's saying, Paul Blunt saying Will Barton equals chip. Yes, sir, that is what's happening. And Turtle T's out here coming in with the super chat. Coming in with the super chat saying Nick Nurse a fraud like Ben with minutes, so nothing changes. Hey, Turtle, I know you're on the tank and wagon and all that sort of stuff, but I thought Nick Nurse well-coached game tonight, but I still would like to see some Jeff Doughton out here rocking. But which is fine. What's Center? Scottie was kind of coasting for the first 3 quarters. I would like to see him be more engaged, though. I would like to see him more engaged. But Fred shot 1 of 11. He needed some dad sleep after the birth of his 3rd child. That's true. And I don't know if I officially said on the podcast. I wasn't sure. We didn't have confirmation. But Fred VanVleet had, I think I said in today's video, but I saw an Instagram story, Fred VanVleet and his kid having his 3rd kid. So that's official. And I'm sure everyone else has reported on it and stuff. It was kind of speculated. They were kept using the term personal reasons as to why he was out. But shout out to Fred VanVleet for coming back. Shout out to his 3rd kid. I guess some people were hoping that Fred VanVleet would go nuclear the same way he did when he had his first child, in the 2019 NBA playoffs. But I'm happy with the way Fred VanVleet played in this one. Facilitating for others, the offense looked a lot better. Shout out to Fred VanVleet. And Blue Week saying Nick Nurse went on a challenge. You love to see that. But it feels good, man. It feels good to see the Toronto Raptors winning games, being competitive, looking like the Toronto Raptors. Sure, we have our ups and downs. Sure, we struggle with shooting the basketball. It is what it is. But the fact that the Raptors are able to grind it out, not have these fake comebacks as we had at the start of the season, or I can't deal with my mental health can't handle another fake comeback this season, so I'm happy when the Raptors give me hope. I can come out here, be energized, talking to you guys about this win. because this was a big W for the Toronto Raptors. So, go get some special training for Scottie Barnes to raise his ability. Hey, Scottie Barnes, he's got that special ability in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter Scottie is a whole different beast. A whole nother animal. That's what you want to see. And Isaac Campbell saying it best. He's plus 19 for the game. That might be the top for the Toronto Raptors, I believe. Plus 16 for OG. Plus 13 for Jakob Poeltl. Surprised Yak only gets 26 minutes in this game. I guess the way the fourth quarter was sort of running. But I do think Nick Nurse needs to figure out a way to give Jakob Poeltl a little bit more minutes. Let me know in the chat. Throw in a yes. Throw in a yes if you believe Jakob Poeltl, even with how the game ended up, deserves a little bit more extended run for Nick Nurse. I guess there's so many minutes to go around, I guess, and Thaddeus Young got his opportunities. When players are playing well, it's nice to see. Throw a yes if you believe so. Throw a no if you think that's the right amount of minutes, under 30 for Jakob Poeltl night in, night out, because he isn't much of a three-point shooter, but it is what it is. And Bueno Kitties coming in with the super chat saying, can we get a like spike for Ben's hype? So let's see if the hotkeys are gonna work. They do. They work tonight. I haven't added it to the stream deck, but that's why I haven't been able to hit the like spike since I got one of these. I want to break this sort of setup we got wrong. I'm not even gonna risk it, but got a little stream deck going rather than hitting my computer keys. So the like spike's been tough, but I appreciate you, Bueno Kitty, for carrying the like spikes, in the comment section. But this was people are saying yes to Yak. They want to see some more Yak. Center for Star wants to tear the core down, tank for Wemby. There's no chance we get Wembanyama at this point. We've won a bunch of games late. We're back in the mix, baby. We are back running. No Wembanyama. No trauma for Wembanyama. We're feeling good on this team, on this Raptor squad. Yes, I believe in the Austrian Hammer. Love to see it, Bueno. People are saying Yak Blue Week. Yes, give him some more run. What's that, Genfro? I don't know what that is. I know you're from Montreal. Is that French? Oui. C'est vrai, monsieur. Sub Ben. Sorry I'm late. Hope you're doing a great game for the Toronto Raptors. Fourth quarter B was amazing. I'd like to see more Poeltl and Barton coming in games. Gurman's out here making the takes like he's been watching the whole time. Completely agree with you, Gurman. That's some good fun stuff there. I like the way Scottie B played. Jakob Poeltl's killing it out there. But man, I'm just hyped. How are we feeling about this Raptors squad right now, folks? I'm feeling pretty excited, and the games are exciting again, even though the Raptors in this one still aren't knocking down their shots consistently. But that's what Joe F is saying. All this to lose in round one. Dang, you know what? We're beating whoever we face in round one, even if it's the Celtics, even if it's the Bucks. People can't handle the Yak and the Will Barton acquisitions. That's going to be game changing. And why ruin the culture? Why build a team like the Houston Rockets or something like that, where they have a losing mentality? Or like the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid, that losing mentality year in, year out. No matter how much talent you have on that squad, right? It seeps into you all those tanking years, right? All those tanking years. We're seeing it affect Ben Simmons right at this point. Seeing it affect Joel Embiid come playoff time, right? Choking. Even though he did knock us out in the playoffs last year. It's any chance we get to roast Joel Embiid on a Raptors podcast, we got to do it, right? We want this team, our young guys, Scottie Barnes especially, not getting any bad habits of losing games, right? We want fourth quarter beasts, fourth quarter Scottie Barnes playing elite from Q1 to Q2 to Q3 and then exploding in the fourth, right? We want, because again, he had a brutal quarters 1 through 3, only had 11 points in this game, but that fourth quarter, man, was absolutely ferocious, dominant, right? Defensively, offensively, doing everything out there. It's great to see. But swirling Shaquem, Olajuwon, Shaquem, Pascal Shaquem, you love to see it. And Aiden saying that we're undefeated when Barton plays. And the record with Will Barton, the record with Jakob Poeltl, we're looking like a team that's going to the ship, folks. We're going to the ship. And Way L is saying it. The Nets lost tonight. We need the Nets to lose a bunch of games in the next 30 days. Completely agree. So if you guys are watching, obviously, I don't know, not obviously, some people just like the Toronto Raptors, there's seasons where I just only watch the Toronto Raptors. Watch a little bit more NBA, different teams and stuff, but you're watching some other games. Who you want to root for and who you don't want to root for. So you want to root against, big time, the Atlanta Hawks. You want to root against big time. Forget the players, you're a fan of Trae Young or anything like that. assuming you're a Raptors fan, assuming you're a Raptor Digest, you're in the Raptors Digest chat right now. If you're a Raptors fan, right, and you want to see this team succeed, right, the most optimal run in this season, okay? You're rooting for the Chicago Bulls, Washington Wizards, because worst case, we can fall into the bottom of the play-in tournament, and then that gets a little bit messy. So we're rooting for the Bulls and the Wizards to lose as many games as possible. Then, ahead of us, the teams that we could potentially eclipse. If the trends continue the way they have been as of late, right, we should definitely pass the Atlanta Hawks and Miami Heat if they continue to lose and we continue to win. So those are the teams that can sort of get us to the upper echelon of the play-in, your 7th, 8th seed, because the Heat, they have looked brutal. And I don't know if people watch the acquisition of Kevin Love down with the Miami Heat, but his first couple games with the Heat have sucked. The guy took a couple nights to end up getting his first bucket for the Miami Heat. They're not playing defense. They're not doing his thing out there. So the Heat could potentially fall even further. And the way they're benching the Raptors, Grote and Kyle Lowry, they deserve to fall further in the standings. And we acquire Kyle Lowry for next season. But, so there's that. All right. Then, so the Heat, the Hawks, we want those two teams to lose. Now, the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets are two teams at 6 and 7 right now, outside the play-in, that we could potentially catch. Now they have a massive lead on us in terms of games back and all that at this point in the season. But the Nets are free-falling at this point. They have lost a bunch of games, and they've had some brutal L's. Like, they've had a couple games where it's been insane blowouts. Now, I still think their roster is pretty solid. I mean, acquiring Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie at the trade deadline, even though they got rid of KD and Kyrie Irving, those are no scrubs to add on with Nick Claxton, Joe Harris, Seth Curry. All these dudes, they have a pretty deep team, but they don't have a true sort of shot creator. And Ben Simmons is literally their 13th man right now. So they could fall. And if they take a dramatic losing streak to end off this season, and the Toronto Raptors make a nice push, there's a world where we get into that 6th seed. Now, the New York Knicks are a tougher team to expect losing games because they've been pretty hot as of late. They're similar to the Toronto Raptors. They're on a little winning streak, I believe, right now. So it's the 6th spot is pretty possible, but getting the 6th position is too difficult. The Raptors the most challenging schedule. Yes, but we beat the 2 Wizards games, right? We have a couple wins against the Wizards in the next couple games, and then we just throw some magic on the road, right? We go on, it's not a huge sample size. We get some big wins on this Western Conference spurt of teams that we're playing against. Right? If we win those, the end of our season is pretty easy. We play the Hornets a couple times who are without LaMelo Ball. The Celtics might be resting dudes at the end of the season. Right? If you look at the schedule, I might do a whole schedule deep dive in the next video we have rolling. But it's we could get to 6, man. And looking at where we were 2 weeks ago, right? The depression, the amount of trade rumors, the amount of everything going on with this team. To be in a position where we could potentially get to 6 right now, I knew I made my prediction that the Toronto Raptors would be at the 3rd seed. The 3rd seed's not looking too hot right now, but it's and this has to be updated, this list. But we're getting to 6, baby. Right? What was it in semi-pro? 4th place. Right, we're going for 6th place. And, we get to 6. We're knocking out the Philadelphia 76ers. We're knocking out the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't care. We're doing it in the playoffs. I'm betting on it, folks. I'm betting on it. If you guys are interested in betting on the Toronto Raptors, definitely check out the CoolBet app. Their sportsbook regulated in Ontario, available all across Canada. And they've been great partners to us at the Raptors Digest, and you can bet on every single Toronto Raptors game, NBA game, or really any sport in general. And they're fortunate enough to give us 2 tickets to the Chicago Bulls Toronto Raptors game tonight, which is an exciting one. Zane Kahn was the winner of that ticket giveaway, so I hope he enjoyed himself. I'm sure he'll reach out and stuff. But man, this was a great game for the Toronto Raptors. I'm betting on the Toronto Raptors after this sort of W. And Bucks number 1 is out here in the chat saying the Bucks are on a 15-game winning streak. And you know what? I hope the Bucks win out. I hope they win out. And then when they face the Toronto Raptors, 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round of the playoffs this year, that's when they're taking 4 straight L's, right? They can't handle a Jakob Poeltl, a Will Barton-led Toronto Raptors team. That's they are done for. They are done for at this point. So it's no, I'm out here on one right now. I'm hyped. I'm just absolutely stoked for this Raptors team. Just playing well, getting big wins. We've had so many just disheartening performances this season. To get a big win like this, you love to see it. But Bueno Kitty saying if we get the 6th seed, we might just get a rematch against Embiid. The Austrian Hammer going to make him his son. That's facts. Joel Embiid doesn't know what's coming in for him with Jakob Poeltl out there. Jakob Poeltl is a really nice matchup for Joel Embiid, I believe. That might get clipped and look bad in a couple of months, but I don't know. I think Jakob Poeltl, the way he's mobile, the way he can take hits, from big men, it's I think he'd be a nice fit. And then the Raptors, doing their double teams and all that sort of stuff with Jakob Poeltl in the back end, I think our roster's much more apt to match up against the Philadelphia 76ers this year, especially if we don't have the illness to Gary Trent Jr., we don't have Scottie Barnes, we don't have Joel Embiid stepping on Scottie Barnes' ankles, right? We don't have Fred VanVleet playing like a half himself. Fred VanVleet, even though he didn't shoot that well tonight, is looking a lot quicker, looking a lot more spry. So you love to see all of that. And, I love the crying emojis for Joel Embiid. It's, the men's, I hope we get the Sixers again. They have championship aspirations. They just did a poll on every single team, and the Philadelphia 76ers believe that they're going to win the chip. And even though I'm not as much of a hater as a lot of the fan bases and the Sixers and the Embiid, they're the funnest team I love to go up against because the drama is so high, the hype. But it's a great look. And Bucks number 1 is saying the Raptors can barely handle a Bulls team while the Bucks win by 20 without Giannis. Hey, you know what they say? Will Barton only had to play 4 minutes tonight. We're making these games exciting. The Toronto Raptors are so deflating to watch. If the Raptors are blowing out teams by 20 plus points at this point in the season, right? People will say, oh, it's a blowout, oh, it's a Raptors, all that sort of stuff. We want close games. We want stuff rolling for this Raptors squad right now, right? We don't want any of these big blowout games. This is strategic stuff going on for the Raptors. We're trying to bring back the fans, bring back the excitement. Then come playoff time, we're sweeping the Bucks. That's what I'm saying. Peaking too early, the Milwaukee Bucks are. Peaking too early, as Jack Armstrong would say. But we're not beating the Bucks or the Celtics. We're not beating them. We're sweeping them, center of star. This is these live reactions are why I get called a homer too much. But I try to be more what is it? What's the word? I can't even think of it when I'm on a reaction podcast. But a little bit more less biased. Partial when I'm doing the news videos and stuff, but these reaction videos, we're going full degenerate Raptors fan. That's what we love to see. Harrison's out here with the crying and beat emojis, the swirly P, the Pascal Siakam, and swirly P over crying and beat. Love to see that. But folks, this was a fun podcast. This is a fun game for the Toronto Raptors. Definitely, we got 200 people in the comment section or in the chat right now. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, definitely subscribe to the Raptors Die. It just means the world to us. Growing the channel, right? We got to build this army up. We got to continue to build it up, right? I know we took some hits. Some people haven't been tuning into Raptors videos. Just the Raptors games, forget the Raptors videos, but we're building back up the fan base after the disheartening year we've had so far. So definitely hit that subscribe, fan. It's that hit subscribe button for Raptors Digest. We get the community building. We're also on our Discord. Discord's popping left, right, and center. So check that link out down below. If you made this far in the video, definitely check out the Discord. Have a chat there with all the folks. But anyways, I appreciate you guys as always. We'll be back for the next one, probably in video tomorrow. We're making dropping vids left, right, and center. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.